What's going on, folks? West Pruitt, Four Star Sports Media Conference Crunch live right now on Four Star Sports Media YouTube, X, and over on Hogs Happy Hours. We had Blake Hogue on earlier as we discussed some breaking news coaching wise as we saw a lot of movement. There's U-Hauls moving around everywhere. You got coaches moving from Memphis to Fayetteville. You got coaches moving from Tampa, Florida to Auburn, Alabama. You got coaches moving from New Orleans, Louisiana to Gainesville, Florida. And you got coaches moving from Oxford, Mississippi down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And with these movements, these create more open positions. We appreciate everyone watching and listening. We are running a live feed of a recording of our podcast. John Sturdivant's in the room as well. John, as we get started here, trying to take fan hat off tonight, as typically I try to do, as the best of my ability. But when you look at this activity that's taken place today, John, it really just further cements the point that it's all a business, man. And these are all business decisions because these men all have families.
First of all, I want to say great show earlier this morning between you and Blake. I definitely enjoyed it. Around the 12 o'clock hour after y'all got done recording and being live. So I just want to say kudos to you and Blake, man. Y'all did a heck of a job. Yeah, like you said, it dissolves a lot of families traveling either cross country or just like 3 or 4 hours away or even 5 hours away. And we can talk about this a little bit more in detail, but the American was such a bad conference, like some fans have said. Then why are the top four coaches in the American going elsewhere? And I'll just leave it at that.
That explosion you hear is, well, it's a combination. It's a combination of a few things. When you look at the case of the coaching carousel this year, we thought the first domino that was going to fall was going to be Lane Kiffin. In reality, Hunter Yurachek went and made a move quickly to get ahead of the game in reality, but in kind of sort of he honestly chose as probably seventh or eighth best option. In the article I put out, I put fourth. Probably wasn't the fourth. It was probably close to sixth or seventh when you really get down to it. But the other issue is this, John. From a coach that spent a lot of time at Memphis, 6 years as a head coach. You finish 8-4 and you leave, doesn't really hurt. Meaning the impact is not going to be as harsh as, say, what's happening in Oxford right now, right? With Lane Kiffin. Now, if you look at Ryan Silverfield, of course, he's here in Fayetteville. I'm here. That's where I live. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. You hear his opening speech to the team. And honestly, man, it's changing some of the tunes that you see on social media about, oh my God, what a. By the way, folks, there's this narrative going around that there was a protest of people. That protest of people was probably maximum of 30 people standing outside the Jones Center today. So let's not get overly excited that 15, 20 people were pissed off because Ryan Silverfield was hired by Hunter Yurachek. Do I think it's a bad hire? No. Do I think Arkansas could have done better? Yes. And I don't mean that. It's disrespectful towards Ryan Silverfield. From what I've been told, and I've had conversations with people all day, Ryan Silverfield wanted the Arkansas job. If that's the case, and I believe it to be, kudos to him. He earned this opportunity. Despite what some people may say online, despite what some pages may continue to do, which is push a negative narrative against a coach that doesn't win the way they want them to win. Regardless of any of that, Ron Silverfield is a SEC head coach today. And he's a SEC head coach at a program that he has no more competition. And that's nothing against Arkansas State. Arkansas is the pro team of this state. When he was at Memphis, he had Tennessee and Vanderbilt to compete with. He's already hitting the ground running recruiting, by the way, folks. Now, you can say what you want about his record against teams with an above 500 record, his record on the road, his record on against the spread. You can nitpick all these stats. But what you cannot say is that Ryan Silverfield did not lead the University of Memphis in their most successful run in program history. Back-to-back 10-win seasons, plus an 8-win season so far this season. It's 30 wins. It's never been done. And he's going to have to build a staff around him. Now, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But, John, as we start, I don't think I understand the frustration from Memphis. I understand the frustration from Arkansas. But at the end of the day, the ink's dry on that bad boy by now. He's here. Him and Cal were hugging, which was a wild photo. He's here. The deal's done. Ron Silverfield's the 35th head coach at the University of Arkansas. And he's taken over a program that was 2-10. I would say the climb is straight uphill for Ryan Silverfield. What's your thoughts on the decision from Ryan today to become the new head hog?
Well, first of all, I just want to say his accomplishments at Memphis alone. I know people want to say, well, 12-20, like you just brought up, but you brought up his graduation rate in previous shows, and I think that was pretty impressive under Ryan Silverfield. 2019, yeah, the interim was on to him in the Cotton Bowl. You don't score that many points under Ryan Silverfield and not be successful against a quality James Franklin team, for example, especially when all the Penn State fans around us were applauding Ryan Silverfield and his staff, I might add, of the accomplishment that they had in that bowl game. But bowl games, you brought up the bowl games, man. Frisco Bowl, Liberty Bowl twice, be back-to-back Big 12 teams in bowl games as well. And I think the accomplishments for the bowl seasons, especially the 10-win seasons, the only team to beat South Florida, the list goes on and on. But I also want to say, tell Ryan, thanks for that, man. Like, I enjoyed his 6 years. And I think, like you have brought up, man, Arkansas does not make this hire if they didn't believe in Ryan Silverfield. I know that might have been other coaches on top of the list, like Eric Morris, James Franklin, the list goes on and on, like y'all brought up this morning. But Ryan Silverfield's background speaks for itself, too. From his Minnesota Viking days, a lot of people forgot about his NFL background. So he's been coaching ever since he's been 18 years old. And I think that's one reason Hunter Yurachek, wanted to bring a guy in like Ryan, and Ryan just couldn't pass it up at this time. Because think about it, it could not be open maybe for like another 5 to 6 years down the road. I've said this, Arkansas fans is better. Just gotta be patient, man. Like, you cannot do it any worse than 2-10. Like Bobby Petrino did in Sam Pittman. But give him at least 3 or 4 years, as you've seen on that new contract that he's gotten. But the SEC schedule this year coming up in 2026 for Ryan Serfield, it's gonna be interesting. If this, like you said, depending on what staff is around him, it'll be interesting to see that going forward the next couple of days too. So I just want to say that about Ryan's accomplishments on and off the field too. And plus, whenever you see him out in public or whatever, he's always been supportive to the fans, in general too. So I just want to say that about Ryan. Plus, he always checks up on kids too. So I just want to say that about Ryan.
Yeah, he does. And I mean, look, here's the thing, man. As far as a quote good guy, he's top of the list, man. Um, but as far as his football acumen is concerned, he can coach, he can recruit, he understands how to utilize the portal. He understands he has to recruit. He's been the head coach for 5 hours, and he's already on. He's already hitting the ground running because signing days this week, early signing days this week. But
Yeah, to Wes's point, regarding Ryan Serfield and other jobs out there, I just want to, it's going to be interesting to see what happens out in Gainesville regarding John Summerall, Alice Goish to Auburn, Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. We might just want to add that one. And then, of course, Oregon State hired a new football coach as well. So going forward, I feel like the college football landscape, like Wes has brought up, the early signing day is coming up Wednesday. It's going to be interesting to see if some players decommit or even commit to bigger schools because of these coaching changes that are happening across the country. So it'll definitely be fun to watch in the next couple of weeks, especially in the bowl season when you get the bowl announcements coming. I believe this Sunday, not this today, but next Sunday after the conference championships, you'll find out what team is going bowling. Some players might option out because of it and just enter the portal. And then I think Memphis also has like a 30-day window of how many players, or not how many players, but which players could enter the portal after a coaching change that has happened as well. So it'll definitely be interesting across the country. And stay tuned to us at Four Star Sports Media to get your very latest regarding college football.
all right, man. I assume you've been talking this whole time. I don't know. My internet completely went out. I like I said, I assume you've been talking this whole time. I hope
The last
anyone
minute and
couldn't
a half.
see.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you probably could see the words I said on screen. I'm glad my mic was muted. I assume it was anyway. I was at that point in time. But anyway, if it wasn't, hey, stuff happens, man. There's no net when you're live, by the way, folks. But I'll just edit that little gap out. But I don't know if you talk the whole time, I don't have to edit it. But
I talked
um,
about it there, so yeah.
so let's go down to Baton Rouge, man. LSU, poor Marty Smith was freaking held hostage for 12 hours in Oxford.
Oh man. More
Um,
like 62 hours, 74 hours, it felt like.
yeah, exactly. He said he went straight from Thanksgiving there. So interesting stuff. Um, but I want to say a couple things. Okay, so first off, the report is, okay, Lane didn't go to the meeting. Well, based on his interview with Marty Smith before getting on the plane to LSU, Lane's got something with tarmacs. But anyway, um, he said that was Keith Carter's decision. He said he respected it. He said Keith told me I couldn't go. 6'7", yeah. Um,
50-50.
So if that's the case, then I don't see why Lane would lie. At this point in time, you have nothing to gain by doing that. But with that, I want to talk about the fans. Okay, did Lane
Yeah.
Kiffin string a lot of people along? Yes. Did was it a long process for him? Yes. But it's a business decision, which is what Blake and I were talking about earlier. At the end of the day, it's a business decision for these people. And it's a business decision that, if you want to be brutally honest about it, you, I, whoever's listening, you wouldn't turn that kind of money down. Ryan Silverfield's making $6.7 million a year. He was not going to turn that contract down. Period. But to scream the yelled, I'm not going to say it. But then to sit there and just watch every person who gets out of a freaking SUV to berate them next is a little psychotic. Actually, it's a lot psychotic. And for all the fans, and this is not just LSU, this is not just Memphis, this is not just Arkansas, for all the fans who have wanted all these coaches that once they found out their coach was interviewing or talking or discussing, it was, oh, F them, get them out, hit the door, get out of here. Let's make sure that our administration and our program that we're cheering for and that we're making just psychotic statements about, let's make sure that administration is going to make the proper hire. So, as strong as your words were about the coach, let's make sure that you hold the administration to the same accountability that you have the coach. Because without that, the same thing is going to continue to happen. Like, for example, at Arkansas, if Silverfield doesn't work out in 4 years, what did that accomplish? Right? Like, if Alex Golesh goes to Auburn, great hire, we think today. But if Golesh goes to Auburn and he turns out just like Hugh Freeze, was it a successful hire for Auburn? For example, John Summerall, Florida. To some people, and I understand why they're saying this, they just went and hired the same person they just fired. You could technically say the same thing for Arkansas. The only difference in Ryan Silverfield and Sam Pittman is that Ryan Silverfield does have some coaching experience at the head coach level, whereas Sam Pittman did not. But there's not a lot of difference between John Summerall and Billy Napier. Both of them came from Louisiana. Both of them were a group of six coach. Both of them are offensive guys. Summerall's defensive, but Summerall calls his own plays. Billy Napier called his own plays. Steve Sarkisian calls his own plays. There's, But, John, when you look at the scores from this week, that's why I flipped over to the Southwest Airlines scoreboard. Southwest Airlines, fly the right way every time. Head over to southwestairlines.com/4star sports now for more information. You can fly across the nation as we fly across the scoreboard. John, let's start with the ACC. Possibly my favorite conference in all of college football, because I love chaos. You know this. Anyone that follows us, anyone that follows me, when it comes to sports, I love chaos. And this conference right here is full of it. When you look at the ACC, John, what game stood out to you this week of action?
What has gone wrong in Syracuse, New York? After doing so well last season for Syracuse Orange, you lose to Bill O'Brien, team that was 1-9 or 1-10. I mean, going to yesterday's game against Syracuse, Boston College 34, Syracuse 12. Man, this is a dominant win from the Boston College Eagles. 65 passing yards for Syracuse. Quite an accomplishment for the Boston College defense to do that well in the Carrier Dome and get that win.
Yeah, I mean, you lose a quarterback like Steve Angeli, it hurts. You lose a star like him. Really affects the offense. But to your point, and I tell you, if you listen to Fran Brown's post game press conference, which I did, um, man, I'm a fan of that guy. I am a fan of that guy. There's you may hear his name mentioned at the end of this podcast. You may very well mention. My phone has been doing that all day. My phone has been going effing. All right. I can't take that crap anymore. All right, John. What about when you look around this league, man? I gotta go down to Gainesville. I really thought the Seminoles were going to get bowl eligible. I really thought Norvell understands the importance of this game. But you've got Florida interim head coach, 4-7 or 3-7 on the or 3-8. I'm sorry, on the season at the time. You've got Mike Norvell, 5-6 at the time. You win, you're 6-6. You're in a bowl. You can salvage a little bit. Your ass is cooled off because your athletic director came out on to him. So, you kind of be like a little, kind of like Snow Miser. I don't know if any of y'all remember that movie, that I'm Mr. Snow Miser. Anyway. It's almost Christmas time. 40-21, John. Seminoles were blanked in the first and third quarters. Only 14 in the second quarter and 7 in the fourth. When you look at team stats for these two teams, 5 of 12. Third down, one of the first places I go. 6 of 13 for Florida, 5 of 12 for Florida State, 2 of 4 on fourth down for the Noles, 2 of 2 for the Gators. Total yards 440 to 407 for the Noles. Time of possession 34 minutes 42 seconds to 25 minutes 18 seconds. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, 90,000. Bad boy to watch. Knock off the Seminoles in a big time rivalry. John, as we move on, as we close up the ACC, what's your thoughts on the upcoming ACC championship matchup between Duke and Virginia?
Another key stat in that Florida State game, man. 7 yards of rush by the Florida Gators running game. And also 2 sacks only for Florida State. When Florida's offensive line has been banged up the last 5 or 6 ball games as well. So not to put pressure on Lagway is a big disappointment for Mike Norvell and the Florida State Seminoles. And I also want to say this, man, like Elijah Herring going to Florida State this year kind of disappointed me a little bit too for Florida State. Not that many tackles on the year for him. But yeah, man, like it's gonna be interesting going forward. Like SMU had to beat Cal to be in the ACC championship, and now you got a 5-loss team in Duke playing for maybe a playoff spot. And now they're gonna play Virginia, Duke versus Virginia. And like you brought up on previous shows, man, the coach of the year in the ACC probably will be good old Virginia football coach. So going this weekend in Charlotte will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, Tony Ellett has done a hell of a job, man. Done a hell of a job. When you really get down to the nuts and bolts of everything he's dealt with while being the head coach, he became everything for not just that football program, for not just that campus, but for that entire community there in Charlottesville. Tony Ellett's a hell of a football coach, and from what I've gathered from people, talking to people who know him personally, talking to people who've covered him, talking to people who know and are friends with football players on that team. Everything you see outwardly is also inwardly as well. All right, John, let's jump over to the Big 12 as we saw more chaos, man. BYU gets a big win 41-21 over Central Florida. Texas Tech blanks West Virginia. Those two teams are going to meet. It's going to be a fun game again. But John, what game stood out to you this week in the Big 12?
Gotta give Silly Dykes a lot of credit. TCU, man. His seat was a little bit warm during the season, a little bit, I think. But to get 8 wins and what a turnaround they had in the middle of the year, we thought Cincinnati could very well be in that Big 12 championship the way they started out so hot, right? So winning 45-23 over Cincinnati, 21-7 TCU after that first quarter too. So a good win. Josh Hoover, man, his numbers speak for itself, right? 19-22 for 306 and 4 touchdown passes to lead TCU in a big win in Dallas Fort Worth.
Big time win. Big time win in a rivalry game as well. John, I got to go out west, man. I got to go talk about those Arizona Wildcats. When you look across the Big 12, you look at programs that really got hot at the right time. Following that Houston loss, 31-28, Arizona went on to rattle off 5 consecutive, including the win over Arizona State, 5 wins to close the season. As now they finish up 9-3 after a 23-7 win over Arizona State, who ended up winning the Big 12 last year, by the way. Let's not forget that. But big time win as they forced 5 turnovers and spoil Arizona State's Big 12 repeat title hopes with a big win. What's your thoughts on the Wildcats, man? That's a massive win, not only over rival, but 5 consecutive wins to close the year is great momentum for any football program.
I mean, just another coach we thought about maybe that could be on the hot seat was Arizona coach going into the season. But like you said, 9 wins, but the defense has stood out the last couple ball games. You brought up the 5 turnovers against Arizona State, 3 picks for Arizona State on offense, and the whole Arizona State to a 7 points is just amazing. But speaking by itself too. But man, Arizona's playing hot at the right time, and I just hope they can get a decent bowl game out of the Big 12. I wouldn't mind them seeing them in Memphis,
Conference
but we
crunch.
don't know how many fans would come here. So
It's true. It's true. Conference crunch right here on the Four Star Sports Media Network. I'm Wes Pruitt. Got John Starvin in here as well as we crunch college athletics fastest. Well, I say it's fast. It might be fast, might be slow. Who knows? But as we're going through, we're on the Southwest Airlines scoreboard right now. We're taking a flight across the nation, looking at scores. We're now jumping over to. We're going to land in the Big Ten zone for a little bit, John. We saw Indiana continue dominance, 56-3 over Purdue. Massive win there. John, what's your thoughts on the Big Ten? What game stood out to you this week?
Penn State 40, Rutgers 35. The reason I bring up Penn State, if you can't hire nobody at Penn State, why not let the interim guy get a shot? Quick turn around. I know he turned that program around the last couple ball games, but he's beating teams like he's supposed to, and also scoring a lot of points as well for Penn State. So if you can't fire or find a coach, you might as well try the interim guy and see what happens.
Good point. Good point. Um, and I got to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ryan Day, Ohio State, beat Michigan since 2019, John. Big time win. Ohio State is their number one, 27-9 over the Michigan Wolverines. All right, John. Let's go over, man. Let's talk about the SEC. Give me your game that stood out to you this week. I have a feeling I know where you might be going, but maybe not. What's your game this week in the Southeastern Conference where it just means more?
It's not Knoxville, Tennessee, although that's a good option, right? But I'm gonna go Austin, Texas. Arch Manning, 27. Well, Arch Manning, Texas Longhorns. 27. Texas A&M 17, giving A&M their first loss of the season. Um, Man, Marcel Reed just threw those two bad picks. If it wasn't for those picks, you really don't know how that outcome would have gone. But man, gotta give Texas a lot of credit. 19 first downs, 413 on third downs, but 218 rushing yards. And then that Arch Manning perfectly designed run on that shotgun quarterback keeper on that up the middle, 35 yards out to capsize that win. And then, it'd be interesting to see if Texas actually makes the playoff now, although Steve Sarkisian is kind of pulling his string and saying, I think Texas deserves to be in. But yeah, Texas got a huge win down in Austin, Texas on that Friday night on Black Friday.
That was not just a big win. That was a dominant win. That was a win that was kind of a statement from the Texas Longhorns. Man, it's tough. Okay, so I was torn between two games. I was torn between the Iron
Hmm.
Bowl, which was an Alabama 27-20, incredible football game once again, and perhaps the greatest rivalry in all college football. But another one that I don't know if it's necessarily a rivalry, but I think it's becoming a very intense ball game year in, year out is LSU Oklahoma. Something about these two teams, when they get together, they put on magic. But 17-13 Oklahoma, big win by Oklahoma to continue their push towards the college football playoff. John, Georgia, Alabama, fourth time in the SEC championship. Who you got?
I'm not going to tell you my pick right now. Sorry, I'll get that to you on Friday.
Dang it. I was really hoping you would do it. But what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on that game as a conference championship game in the SEC? It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a rematch of this year when Alabama beat Georgia in Athens, and Gunnar Stockton couldn't really get going in that game. And I think the running game was pretty well for Georgia in that game, but they just couldn't get the passing game for Gunnar Stockton. Also, if you remember right, Georgia had their chances in the red zone. They just couldn't capitalize and turn the ball over. So I think it's going to be a good game overall. It's good to see Coach DeBoer. People want to criticize him the last couple of years. I know because they're like, well, he hasn't. I mean, why would you hire a guy from Washington when he has no Southeast ties, right? But the way he managed that play calling on that last drive with Ty Simpson on that fourth down play call, he wanted to win that game by a touchdown because he knew Auburn can very well tie it with a field goal and force that game to go to overtime in Jordan Hare. So, gotta give Coach DeBoer a lot of credit, especially on this season alone. And I think the Alabama defense is also standing point at the right time as well. So, gotta give Alabama credit when credit is due right now. And this year, I know you lose to Oklahoma at home, but hey, now you're playing for the SEC championship and a chance for the host and top team in the playoff.
Yeah, it's a big time win for Oklahoma. And then you look at Alabama, to your point. A lot of people were a little questionative. They were questioning whether Kellen DeBoer was the right hire. But you look at what the job he's done. Plus, you look at other things he does within the program to build to build character within his team, to build character within his players, to really push to give within the community, things of that nature that go outside of the game of football and more into the game of life. I think is really what kind of sets him apart. He's doing things that is pushing things and paying things forward is massive. All right, man. Let's fly over to the American real quick.
All right, real quick,
I
let me
want to
say
start
something
with.
about
Oh, go
SEC
ahead.
real quick. Come Vanderbilt, Diago Pavia, great game against Tennessee, but Diago's, man, you gotta get your brother intact, man. The way that your family's been behaving this year in general in the stands, you gotta get your brother intact. He's embarrassing your image right now a little bit. So hopefully that family can get right back on track, right? So that's one reason I want to bring that up. Because as we know, Diego Pavia's brother has been arrested twice this season. He got arrested in Knoxville the other day as for public intoxication, and he also got arrested earlier this season in the game in Nashville. So that's one reason I just feel like hopefully Diego and his family can get back on track because I feel like yeah, it might be killing his image just a little bit, but we just definitely need. I mean, Hartley got that contract extension, so you really definitely need Diago to get back on track, and hopefully he will regarding the Vanderbilt Commodores, regarding his family, especially when you don't know it could affect his mental health or it could affect his, draft. I'm not saying it could have affect his draft status by no means, but we have seen regarding that in the past as well, regarding certain players, the people that are around people have hurt their draft status. So I just want to say that regarding Diago Pavia. But yeah, Diago Pavia ran over 100 plus yards, threw over 200 plus yards as well. And I'll go ahead and go to the American. What stood out to me, since Wes did ask me about the American. So the American, we just got breaking news, by the way, on Four Star Sports Network. Kentucky is expected to fire Coach Stoops. So very, very interesting news, Wes, as we just broke some news about 10 seconds ago on the Four Star Sports Network.
Stoops in Kentucky.
Yep, he's out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what transpired last year with the way he and Texas A&M were entangled in their discussions, and furthermore, for that matter, that's not shocking, especially the way this year went. But then the way Louisville just dismantled Kentucky in their game recently, it's not shocking to me, honestly, at all. That that happened. But John, as you jump over to the American, I gotta go to UTSA, man. Army went in there, got a 27-24 win. First loss for UTSA at home under Jeff Traylor in conference play. Absolutely massive win for Army. Phenomenal win as the Black Knights go in there and steal a bowl bid. It's exactly what they did. They went in there and stole a bowl bid because nobody had them being bowl eligible going in that game. Army went in there and stole one, 27-24. What's your game this week in the American?
I know Florida Atlantic had a losing record going in, but East Carolina 42, Florida Atlantic 3. I just think right now the goal for East Carolina is to win 8 to 9 wins per year. So that's one reason I would say East Carolina 42, Florida Atlantic 3.
Okay, I like that. All right, John. When you look at the American Conference Championship, you got North Texas and Tulane. North Texas heads down to New Orleans, heads down to Yulman Stadium, as Yulman Stadium will be hosting the American Athletic Conference championship game, third time in the last 4 seasons, as Tulane is now in the game for the fourth consecutive year. John Summerall is going to coach. That was announced prior to him taking over fully at Florida. And if Tulane happens to go to the college football playoff, he will coach that as well. We'll talk about that before we end here shortly. But
Same
what's
thing
your
with Eric
thoughts on the
Morris by
American
Texas.
Championship? Do what now?
Same thing with Eric Morris at North Texas. He'll be coaching this Friday night and then also the playoff if it happens as well. So same thing with Eric Morris,
So,
North Texas.
what's your thoughts on these two teams, this matchup in the American Athletic Conference Championship? I think it's a great just show to be able to put on, especially with these two coaches moving on to bigger and better opportunities as far as conference, as far as that is concerned. Potentially better opportunities. What's your thoughts on these two teams matching up, man? I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wish it was on a Saturday night, right? I wish maybe College Game Day can maybe make an appearance down in New Orleans, but we know where they're going to be. They're going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, probably for the SEC championship. But overall, you just brought up the coaching matchup: John Summerall versus Eric Morris. I think they're going. Yeah, Eric Morris is going to Oklahoma State. John Summerall going to Florida. If you're a scoreboard watcher and you like high scoring, you might as well enjoy this one on Friday night at 7 o'clock because this very well could be a shootout for the over at 67.5. And right now Tulane's favored by 2.5. And the quarterback play alone is what is going to impress me the most in this game.
Really? Okay. Okay. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. Let's jump over, John, and let's talk a little bit of Conference USA. I got to go Delaware, man. 60 piece, a 60 burger as they won by 30 points as they beat UTEP 61-31. You talked about Scott Waldron earlier, and you may mention his name here again shortly. But big time win for the Blue Hens as they are now bowl eligible. Heading to a bowl game, them and the Missouri State as well. John, what's your thoughts on a very entertaining Conference USA in 2025?
And other than Middle Tennessee finishing year 2-10, I think the conference would say was or Middle Tennessee finishing year 3-9, and then Derek Mason giving another year. Yeah, I know Sam Houston was kind of down this year because it's only their first or second year in Conference USA, but overall it's been fun to watch this season because you got Missouri State and Delaware, like you brought up. First year in FBS and now they're bowl eligible. Um, it's gonna be a fun Conference USA championship, which is gonna be between Jacksonville State and oh gosh, well, who is it? Oh, Kennesaw State. But yeah, I think this year you might see a lot of coaches you're not sure about as well, maybe taking other jobs down the road too.
Yeah, we could very well be mentioning them here shortly. All right, John, let's close up the Southwest Airlines scoreboard as we finally land over in the Sun Belt. As we go across their league, I got to go to Louisiana as the Raging Cajuns got a big rivalry win over the Warhawks, 30-27 in overtime. When you look at overtime games this last week of college football, we saw quite a few games go to overtime, and in rivalry week, I love seeing it.
Hmm.
What's your thoughts on the Sun Belt, Fun Belt, John?
Congratulations to Brick by Brick, Butch Jones for going bowl eligible once again for the Arkansas State Red Wolves. 30-29 at App State for a team. I mean, both teams were fighting for their bowl eligibility in that game, but for Arkansas State to go in there and just hold off a team in Appalachian State 30-29, especially with the heartbreak they've experienced the last couple of games in Jonesboro. Great way to go into your regular season if you're Butch Jones in Arkansas State. Because Appalachian State had a chance at the end and just missed a field goal to ruin Arkansas State.
It's a good point. It's a good point. All right, man. Let's jump over. Tell you what, we'll skip the moment of the week. We'll go over to. Oh, crap. Hold on. Dang it. Hang on a second. Hold on, John. My bad. Um, this is what I need to do. There we go. All right, folks. Sorry. Just, a little bit of technical difficulties there, I guess you could say. All right, John. Final play presented by Fanatics. Look, fans, if you're looking for gear, if you're trying to gear up, It's getting ready to be cold outside. Uh, Brutally cold up here already in Northwest Arkansas. I know it is there in Memphis as well, where John is. No matter where you're living right now, unless you're living in freaking Florida or something, or out in Arizona, it's probably getting ready to be pretty chilly. Looking for hoodies, looking for these type of little things right here, little puffers, hoodies like John's, hats like mine. Head over to fanatics.com. They've got all your gear right there for you to grab. Head over to fanatics.com/4star sports for more information. And when you buy, you're buying incredible products that last. That's why I like Fanatics. Their products last. All right, John, Fanatics final play. Let's talk about some new regimes as some coaching positions have come open. As we talked about at the onset of the show, Ryan Silverfield is now at Arkansas, so that opens Memphis up. So we'll start there, John. Give me a couple of coaches that you could see as potential candidates, early candidates, right early, but we're being told that potentially Memphis could be moving rapidly with a hire.
I mean, the obvious, I feel like, if the coaching staff does leave, which there might be a chance they could all leave, I would probably have to say right now, I mean, he's done pretty well he's got local ties. He's got Southern Cal ties. Anthony Jones rings a bell. He's a young and upcoming head coach. It's just a matter of time if he's ready for it or not. So Anthony Jones is a very good option. I think because the local ties that he has here in the Mid South, and also he's got that relationship with the coaches here, like he has ever since he coached at Cordova. He's also averaging 200 yards a game at Southern Cal in the running game. Another name that's been going around, of course, Dan Mullen, of course, and Coach Mack from Kennesaw State. But I love how Scott. I know he hasn't done well at UTEP, but I also like Scott Waldron's name just because the way he did so much success at Austin P before he went to UTEP, and I just feel like you kind of. And he's also got a tied in. He's got some local ties on his staff as well at UTEP. So why not try bringing Scott Waldron back to the state of Tennessee and see how he does? But those are my top that can maybe. I think you got to hire somebody that's kind of like in the 30 to 40-year-old age bracket, though. That's just my honest opinion.
So my names may, I don't know, strike a nerve maybe with people. I don't know. So I've got four. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off with the first one. I know how a lot of people feel about this, and I understand why. But call Justin Fuente. Was the whole family happy in Memphis? No. But when he was here then and now, it's completely different. It's a whole new ball game now. Just call it. Number two, Jimbo Fisher. I think it's a name that would immediately garner attention. He can recruit the South. He can talk his ass off, albeit 95 miles an hour, but still. Number three, you talked about it, Jerry Mack. Incredible coach, Kennesaw State, done a really good job. Really haven't seen a lot of longevity success, right? It's been kind of short burst. And then fourth is it's got to be Charles Huff, man. Got to be Charles Huff at Southern Miss to see what he did at Marshall. Now you see what he's done immediately, instant impact, right? Instant impact. I think that is going to be key for Memphis in this hiring for Ed Scott. We've seen it. Ryan Silverfield. Let's just be honest. If Brendan Lewis remains healthy, that Memphis football team is different. Let's just be honest. But he showed this year, brand new roster, over 70 new players. You can be a positive, you can be a winning football team. 8-4, you're still a winning football team. But instant impact, I think, is what Memphis is going to want. They want to stay at the top of the G6. That's what you got to do. You got to bring somebody in that can make an instant impact, both on the recruiting trail as well as on the field. But you got to be able to develop that talent as well, which is also very key. All right, John, let's go to North Texas, man. Give me a couple names, 2-3 names that you think the Mean Green should be looking at.
A coach that got let go a few, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I think if you really can't hire nobody, Seth Littrell, man, I think he did a heck of a job at North Texas when he was at North Texas. And then of course G.J. Kinney from Texas State rings a bell. Um, those are my top two that really come to mind right now, just because they had Texas background, and like you said, they got to recruit the state of Texas. And I'm going to throw another curveball at you. Um, could very well might see Cliff Kingsbury named back in Texas because he's got that Texas background. So maybe those three would come to mind.
It's a good point on Cliff. It's a very good point on Cliff, and some even say Cliff was in play at Arkansas. Um, you look at North Texas. I think first off, I want to say this. I think Ryan Silverfield has the capabilities to do great things at Arkansas. If he's given the resources, NIL wise, things like that, he can do incredible things if he has a staff around him. Eric Morris went to Oklahoma State. I think Eric Morris, 10-1 season, incredible football player. UNT being North Texas, by the way, playing for an American Athletic Conference championship, potential CFP berth, first ever appearance in the AAC championship, by the way. Will North Texas go find a offensive guru to continue the points to be scored? I think they will. I think you look at maybe potentially bringing some guys back. Okay, I think first off you go look at Garrett Riley. Right now, he's the offensive coordinator at Clemson. He's a former TCU offensive coordinator as well. Number two, I think you go look at Mac Leftwich. He's currently at Texas Tech. He's a former Texas State offensive coordinator. And then what about Neil Brown, John? He's formerly at West Virginia. We know he's an offensive, really good football player, really good coach. Former West Virginia head coach, Texas special assistant from 24 and 25. And then finally, I mentioned him on the other list, but Jimbo Fisher. He's a name that he wants to get back in coaching, man. He's made that very, very, very clear. I just think somebody takes a chance on him. And no, he's not on my third list, by the way. But what's your thoughts on North Texas?
I like it. I like that list a lot. It's just I wonder if North Texas also could hire like a defensive guy. I know he's up there in age at 65 years old. What about Gary Patterson? So never know.
That name is on my list as a HM, right? Honorable mention. And
Really?
actually he's on the list for Memphis too. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's on my list for Memphis too. Uh, the reason I say that is because I don't think the game has passed him by, and he is a defensive minded, smart enough. You know, you're not going to get too much past him. All right, let's go to South Florida, man. Let's go down to Tampa. Golish, Trey Schapp reported earlier this week. Everybody and their mama reported. It wasn't just Trey. Everybody and their mama said, "Hey, we confirm that he's confirmed." Alex Golish was supposed to be the next head coach at Arkansas. Evidently, today we know he's not. He's now at Auburn. But led the Bulls. Had a really good season this year. Beat Boise State. Beat Florida. His exit does leave a high bar for the successor. He turned that program around. Really has done a good job down in Tampa. I think they're going to want offensive minded again. What's your thoughts on these coaches, John? Jason Candle, current head coach at Toledo. Sean Lewis, current head coach at San Diego State. And Jimbo Fisher. Ha, just kidding. Not Jimbo Fisher. Um,
That's a good one, though. I
what
was about to
about
say,
this
what
one?
are you doing?
What about Joe Brady? I think he's a name in all this mix that you can't sleep on. He's a name that's been mentioned in the last few cycles. Another name that I don't think you can sleep on, and this is for any job, Brian Daboll. Let's not forget. He didn't forget how to coach. He may have got let go, but he didn't forget how to coach. But John, what's your thoughts on South Florida?
Man, people might laugh at this, but John Gruden, maybe he got ties. He got the state of Florida ties. John Gruden possibly. No. Florida International coach and Willie Simmons maybe because he's done a pretty well job at Florida International. That's a name that rings a bell. And then I also think Will Stein, Oregon's offensive coordinator, might make that jump just because he's done so well under Dan Lanning. But another name, he beat them this year in the swamp. But Billy Napier might be a possibility too. I just think if Billy Napier might be a good fit in South Florida, just because I thought he did pretty well at when he was out in Louisiana, and I think he scored a lot of points down in Louisiana. So why not try to get a job at South Florida and see what could happen at South Florida if you're Billy Napier?
That's another name that I think in all of these searches you can't just put to the side. I mean, I think there's a large contingency of Memphis fans that honestly, let's just be honest, man, as we close. And this is not just for Memphis fans, this is for all fans. How does someone you don't know, you've never known, and never will know probably, do you really think that they're going to take into consideration how you feel about how they've performed at their $1 million job they get up and put their pants on and go to every day? People change jobs all the time for money. Why now? Most of these people don't know the difference between 12 personnel, 21 personnel, quarter defense, zone defense. I'm not saying I'm a master at this, but I do know how to watch tape and comprehend what I'm watching, and can analyze the tape that I watch. But as we close, man, let's not forget these coaches are chasing their dreams too. We're doing that. We do that every day. Hang on, John. I'm going to spotlight myself with this. We do that every day. We chase our own dreams every day. So are the coaches. When Ryan Silverfield signed the contract to become the Arkansas head football coach, he was signing a contract that was his dream. His dream was everyone's dream is to be a power head coach, especially in the SEC. When Lane Kiffin made the decision, albeit he drug it out, I get it. But when he made the decision to become the LSU head coach, that's a dream decision. You know what Pete Carroll told him? Pete Carroll told him, your dad would tell you to go. Your dad would tell you to go. That's impactful. But to sit there and just trash the coach and trash this and sorry ass coach and blah, 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 it makes no sense. None. And your disappointment at them and your expectations for them and the fact that they don't meet those expectations, when that coach takes a $4 million pay raise, that coach doesn't give a damn about your expectations. Period. No matter the sport. But like I said earlier, and I made this statement during the show with Blake, if we're going to hold the football coaches with this accountability, we also have to hold the athletic directors, the presidents, and the chancellors all accountable because they're the ones that are allowing the contracts to be signed. But to think that just because there's a post made online that reaches thousands of people, if you honestly, fully really think in your head that post causes someone to lose their job or causes someone to not be hired, you've lost your mind. Business decisions aren't made on Twitter. And this is a big decision because the South Florida athletic director, the Memphis athletic director, the North Texas athletic director, and I've spoken with people that are involved with all three of those universities. All three of these universities right now within the American, and to John's point from earlier, the American is so bad. Why is all these coaches being plucked? And then Eric Morris too, like I said. They all have business decisions to make. And somewhere else, another coach could do the same thing that Ryan Silverfield, Eric Morris, and Alex Golesh just did. And you know what that is? Make a business decision for him and his family to better themselves. And when that coach leaves and comes to your school, you don't keep the same energy. You cheer, you celebrate. Why? Because just like the word fanatics, fan is short for fanatic. But there's got to be some wrangling in of some fans. More importantly, as we close, John, there's got to be some wrangling into some media members out there. I mean, we saw the debacle that took place between the On3 reporter and Lane Kiffin. He doubled down and doubled down again afterwards. It's called professionalism. The 65, 70 people that are watching right now, that's one thing that every time you come and you turn on a 4-Star Sports Media produced show, it's going to be professional. Will we throw in a cuss word every now and then? Yeah, we will. But we're not going to quote Project Pat. And trust me, I'm a massive Project Pat fan. But there's got to be a little more accountability for media as well. And for all we know, he could very well lose his credentials. It could happen. And if it does happen, it's a sign that that type of activity and that type of behavior is not allowed. And if you're actual credentialed media and you're listening to this right now, you understand what I'm about to tell you. Every single press release, every single anything comes at the bottom of that release. It states, do not share with the general public. Why? Because it's specialized information. And it's a privilege to receive it. Any credential that you get, if you look on the back of that credential, it plainly states if you break any of these laws, any of these rules, they list off about 20. Your credential can and will be pulled. Revoked is the term used. How do we know that? We're a credentialed media member. We also vote for 4 different awards across the country, John? On a national level. But we'll be back Thursday and Friday as we get into conference championship week. We'll have a full breakdown of each one individually. So John's excited about that as he just learned about that. But we'll have take each game individual. We'll have a little 20, 30-minute show on each one of them just to individualize each one, really dive into each of them. But we'll do that Thursday and Friday both. And then from there, we'll get into a lot more as we got bowls getting ready to be announced. We'll have a bowl pick'em challenge as well, as we will be setting up that in the coming weeks. As bowl season is almost here. Bowl season is always a lot of fun. Always makes me miss the old college football game where you just play all the bowl games. Always a lot of fun. But John, as we close up, man, exciting football season. Conference championship week is here. As we close, what's the final thought on a wild 2025 football season?
Well, I just want to say this. Good luck to all the kids that are signing on Wednesday on early signing day. Just follow your heart, but don't follow the coach. Yeah, you might have a great connection with that coach, but just don't rush it. I know the early signing day is Wednesday. So to all the players that are signing on Wednesday, enjoy the moment. If you happen to decommit from that school on Wednesday or whatever happens, just stay positive and see what happens down that road because I feel like you might see it a little bit more this week as well. So just enjoy the ride next couple of weeks. I know a lot of players are still undecided on what they want to do. So just have them enjoy the moment this week. And I also want to say this. Don't bash a kid if he wants to enter the portal as well. It could affect their mental health. It could affect their whole body in general. So don't bash a kid if they want to enter the portal after something happens regarding a coach or assistant coach or the list goes on and on regarding that staff. So yeah, 2025 is it's hard to believe it's already December 1st tomorrow on a Monday, and look out for an Inside the Lines episode on Thursday morning around probably like 9:30 in the morning as well. For me, you, and a few guests that we might have in store, and who knows, we might talk about the Lane Kiffin saga a little bit more on Thursday morning as well on Inside the Lines, which I'll tease later on in the week.
Nice. Old Johnny Boy loves to tease. But appreciate everyone watching, listening. Nice. We're including a live feed in the recording of the show. But it's a Sunday night thing. It's been an active day from really it started last night. From last night up through today. Mark Stoops. I mean, it's that time of year. There's going to be more tomorrow, I'm sure. There could be more news on coaching. Who knows?
DC,
But
OCs
stay.
might be letting go. You never
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah. No telling, man. Nationwide. But stay with us right here at 4 Star Sports Media. We'll keep you covered as we always do. Um, but and stay tuned for more as conference championships here. It means bowl games are here. We'll be on press calls with bowl games, college football playoff. We're on those press calls too. Tuesday night, by the way, I will be on with 6-7. I'll be on with Hunter Yurachek to see what his thoughts are. I may ask him a little 6-7 question. I mean, I think it's very funny that Ryan Silverfield makes an average of $6.7 million a year. So I may bring that up to Mr. Yurachek. No, man, appreciate Appreciate you jumping on with me, John. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. As always, folks, get up, be kind, and stay classy.